Sonia Nusselder. I'm the bass player of Sepiroth and the guitarist of Burning Witches, and you're listening to Jet from Metal Messiah Radio.
Oh my, good evening everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. So April is Guitarist Month here on the Metal Magdalene with Jet, and I'll be featuring different guitarists every week on the show. And tonight we have with us Sonia Nusselder, who plays bass in Sepiroth and Ursina, and guitar in Burning Witches. And welcome to the show, Sonia.
Thanks for having me.
So tonight, Sonia is coming to us from Amsterdam. So Sonia, were you like born and raised there?
I was actually born in a smaller city named Haarlem, which is quite near Amsterdam. But at the 3-year-old age, I was moving to Barcelona in Spain with my mother and brothers. There I was raised. Oh. And later on, I moved to the Netherlands again for high school.
And so what kind of music did your mom play, you know, when you were young and growing up, and that you heard around the house? That was like your first introduction to music.
Oh, I was raised with many different kinds of music. My mother really liked the new wave and punk stuff. My brothers really liked the electronic, you know, like house, techno stuff. And my father's more of the classical and pop music. So everyone has a different thing. And I got to hear everything because I was the little girl. So I took every influence from all my family, and somehow it became metal for me.
So I was going to ask you that. I mean, you know, 20 years old. So what age did you start, like, gravitating to metal? And what were some of, like, the first metal bands that you really got into?
My passion for metal started at the discovery of rock bands. So I first really liked Wasp and Kiss and this kind of bands at age 15. And later on, I discovered Megadeth and the world of thrash. And my favorite bands used to be Megadeth, Toxic, Symphony X, Anthrax, this kind of bands. And later on, my taste has been developing much more, and I discovered more subgenres like that, just by own. I looked a lot at music because I really loved it, you know. I don't know what to say.
So what influenced you then into wanting to play guitar, and was guitar the first instrument you ever played?
The first instrument I played was the flute, the transverse flute. It's actually a classical music instrument. But at 14-year-old age, I started with bass guitar. I got one for my birthday. I was inspired by Gene Simmons by Kiss, because I thought he was very cool looking on stage. He performed like a demon, you know, and I think the demon look was just awesome, and he did these cool slides with his bass guitar. That inspired me to pick it up. And later on, I also wanted to do guitar also.
So so you said you got a bass guitar as a gift. Did you get it from your parents?
My first bass guitar I got from my grandmother.
Okay, that's a close enough relative.
Yeah, I got a Fender Squier jazz bass. But as a first guitar, actually, I have a funny story for that. If you want to hear.
Of course.
It was a Epiphone Flying V, which I bought without telling my father, and I hid it under my bed at my mother's apartment. I hid it because my father wanted me to only focus on bass guitar, but I wanted to play both instruments. My father discovered the guitar later on and made me sell it.
Oh no!
So yes, I got to sell that Flying V, and for my birthday a year later, my grandmother bought me a guitar.
Now, was this your father's mother or your mother's mother?
The mother of my father.
Oh, there. So then he can't argue with her. So that's a good plan there, Sonia.
And for every time on my birthday, I got a guitar, which made me very happy.
So, I mean, did you take lessons then, or did you just play by ear at first?
I'd taken 1.5 years of bass guitar lessons here in the Netherlands. And for the electric guitar, I'm a self-taught musician.
And how did you teach yourself? Did you just like go listen to albums? I mean, you being lucky enough to be young enough to grow up in the age of YouTube, I mean, you could probably find like everything on there.
Well, it's very weird because I got taught theory at school and everything, but I never understood it. I did everything always by ear, and that's how I've always been doing it. Just hearing something and playing it was just my way of learning things.
And so what was like the first concert that you went to that you were like really like blown away by the guitar player?
Whoa, so many, but my very first concert was from Behemoth, this death metal band, Polish death metal band. Yeah, and I was blown away by everything I saw. So also the guitarist, how they could manage to make such a show and play so well at the same time, for me is very impressive.
Yeah, and they put on a great show too, so I could just imagine seeing the guitars and the show. so was it like that show, Sonia, that where you were like, I want to do that, I want to be up there?
Yeah, well, what actually really made me want to get on stage was seeing the videos on YouTube of Kiss in the 70s. Like seeing Gene Simmons and all this, they were fucking crazy on stage when they were young, and I want to have this aggression on stage and this so cool look and playing so well, and I really want that too. It just inspired me. I don't know.
So how old were you when you started like playing? I know you do a lot of like covers and you do some like videos of covers and stuff like that. So you obviously have confidence in your playing because you're putting it all over like YouTube and stuff. So how old were you when you started like posting this stuff on YouTube?
Well, I started with bass guitar covers 1 year after having started with bass guitar. It was around 15 age or maybe 60 years old. I make a lot of Megadeth covers, but they really, really sucked, honestly. Some of them, I took them down because they're really, really bad. And also, when I started playing guitar, I challenged myself to make a cover of a song in 2 weeks after starting. Mm-hmm. Which was the worst idea I ever had, because then I saw the video. And I was thinking, this is very good. But after a year or two, looking back at the video, I think this is actually a big shame. But it also shows that I actually learned.
Well, that is, at least, it's like you said, if you think that it's really, really good, then you can see your own progression through the videos, you know? And you're like, whoa, yeah. I have come a long way since you're 15 years old, Sonia.
It's yeah.
So what was like the first band you were in then?
My really first band was Dimension, a band near from where I live now. It's a melodic thrash metal band, but they don't exist anymore, I think.
And what was like the first band that you got in that you were out like doing shows and stuff like that?
Yeah, we did some shows, and we played with quite some cool bands like Nerve Cell. And I played the bass guitar in this band, and it was a first step to be in a band for me. So I really needed this first step,
right? And
this is what this band has given me.
And since then, you've done so much, and I read too how you played bass in Ursina, and I've had David on the show talking about that. So how did that even come about? Did they just approach you? I mean, how did that even happen?
Well, I already had some contact with David Ingram. Mm-hmm. I knew him already for some time. But for him, asking me for this project was a big honor. Because it's, of course, musicians that I look up to. And there is some stuff written. Actually, I think enough stuff for an album. But I need to record some stuff still. And sadly, there is not so much time at the moment. So it's, for me, a little bit on hold. But it will come. It will come, but for now I'm focusing more on Burning Witches and Sepiroth.
Yeah, well, you got your plate full with both of those. So tell us a little bit about
There's
Sepiroth.
A lot, yeah.
I was going to say I've been just watching, and this year and last year alone, you were just like everywhere. So tell us a little bit then about Sepiroth, when you joined them, and what that whole experience has been like for you.
I really love my band Sepiroth. I joined Sepiroth 2.5 years ago, or 2 years ago, something like that. Since death metal is really my favorite genre, I can lose all my aggression into it on stage. It's a big out of me feeling-wise, so I really need to be in this band. I feel like that. We have had many highlights and played with some of my favorite bands, which makes me very happy. And we hope to have more of this after releasing a new album. We are currently on the recording phase. of it.
Oh, nice. So when do you think that might happen? I mean, you don't have to give any dates, but what are you guys like hoping?
Well, I'm not giving a date yet because we're actually looking for a new vocalist. That has priority. Yeah.
Okay, so if anybody's listening.
Yeah, if anyone is listening.
and they want to be the vocalist.
If you're a brutal vocalist, you can have low vocals, then you're absolutely welcome to try vocals in Sepiroth.
So you also joined the Burning Witches last year. Now you're playing guitar, right? For them. So how's that whole experience been like for you?
It's a huge step for me as a musician. And a person too, an amazing and challenging step. I learned a lot, and it's opened many doors for me in the music world. Just since I joined them, everything is going extremely fast.
I've noticed.
And I'm forever, I have no words to explain how fast everything is going, and I'm forever grateful actually for being part of this band, because thanks to this band, many dreams of mine are becoming reality. It's very nice.
And now you're playing guitar too. So how's that for you?
Yeah.
I mean,
that was the challenge. This was the big challenge, because I've always been a bass guitar on stage, bass musician on stage, and now I'm being also guitarist, which is absolutely different from being a bassist on stage. But now that I get to play so many shows with them, I'm getting more used and more feeling with the instrument, and this is very important.
And you've also been doing, like you said, a lot of touring with them, and you were on the last album too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I played many solos in this album. I've toured twice with Burning Witches, a headline tour in Spain, and a Europe tour with Gravedigger. But we have had also a lot of single shows internationally and bigger festivals. And this year we have a lot of big festivals coming too.
And when you started with them, I mean, you were like often freaking running, weren't you? It's like you got in there, next thing you know, you're like traveling all over the freaking place and playing guitar everywhere.
Yeah.
Was it ever like overwhelming for you, or were you just like ready for the challenge?
I was ready for a challenge, and it's a learning process. At the beginning, of course, everything is it's a lot what you get, and you have to learn a lot of how to handle certain situations. But this learning process, the more I learn, the better everything is getting, and I don't know. It is what it is.
And it's all, it's an all-female band, too. So was it just kind of fun, just being with, like, all the girls out there? And
Absolutely. They are very great girls. I'm very happy in Burning Witches. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about guitars now. So how many do you own?
How many guitars? I have 4 electric guitars. Mm-hmm. 4 bass guitars and 2 acoustic guitars. And my favorite guitar of them is the Jackson Warrior, actually. The Jackson Warrior in Army Green.
And why is it your favorite? I mean, do you like the way it feels and the sounds? I mean, why do you love this guitar so much, Sonia?
Because it's super comfy to play and shred on it. And it just looks extremely cool when I held it, and I like the shape so much, and the head is up. I always say keep your head up, and the head of the guitar is up. So,
so Sonia, how would you like your dream guitar built? Like if you could design the whole guitar from any company you wanted to, how would you design it?
As a guitar, it would definitely be a Jackson, a Storm model, just a Warrior model, and I really would like to have a natural wood finish, because I really like just that you can see what kind of wood is made from, and what would be like the best thing is if it has an inlay of an Horus eye, which is an Egyptian symbol. That would be like amazing, if that's possible ever.
And the head up.
Yeah. And the head up, always the head up. No guitar without head up.
And so how do you go about practicing?
I think practicing is very important. And practice makes perfect. Perfect does not exist, but that's why you have to practice so much all the time. But myself, sometimes I practice 8 hours, and sometimes I don't practice at all. It really differs. Sometimes I feel like playing all the time, and sometimes I don't feel like playing at all. But I think it's very important.
And when you practice, I mean, how do you go about doing it? I mean, do you practice like songs from your bands, or covers, or scales, or certain exercises, or anything like that?
I have certain exercises that I do sometimes, but I what prefer most doing is actually learning songs from bands that I like. That's the thing I most like to do. But it's important to also spend time on technique and do some exercises with the left hand or anything like that.
Now, are there things
Scales.
that you really have to like push yourself to learn that are challenging?
Yes, my when it comes to guitar playing, it's my right hand. I think I can get much better with my right hand technique. As a person, I know of myself that I'm a little bit stubborn, so I like to do things my own way. Mm-hmm. But it would be good to listen more to what others have to say and learn from what others say. That's a thing that we all can learn about, I think. And also, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think also focus more on theory, for example, is something that I could also learn more about.
And what are, like, for yourself, your musical goals?
Become a better musician. Release more music with my bands or as a solo musician. Have a custom guitar or a bass guitar. And actually, also, I would love to play with the musicians I look up to. Or is it on stage, or is it to collaborate in something? That would be like a dream come true.
And do you want to make music your career?
That would be also a very big dream, yes. If I can live from music, yes.
And so what advice would you give to, like, younger people especially that are just learning to play guitar?
Don't give up, and remember to have fun when doing it, because if you don't have fun doing it, it's only a waste of time. Give yourself the time to think when you learn something, and because rushing will only make you more tense when playing. And the more you play guitar, the more fun it will get, so keep doing it. That's my advice.
And Sonia, I mean, how do you feel when you play guitar? I mean, I know a couple of people that they were here in the studio today and I couldn't shut them up, but they start playing guitar and they're like in this zone, you know what I mean? When you start playing, mm-hmm. do you get like in the zone? And I mean, how do you feel when you're like...
Depends on how I feel on the day, but most of the times playing on stage for me is the best feeling ever, by far the best feeling ever there is. Much more than playing at home, because when you play on stage you have an audience and you can be one with the audience and you can be one with your own instrument. It feels like a certain power or something. I have no words to explain how it feels, but it feels like nobody in the world that can stop you when you're on stage.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's got. Of course, you hear that from a lot of musicians. They're like, you don't need drugs when you're a musician because when you get up on stage, you know, your adrenaline is so high and there's nothing like it in the world. And then when you guys get off tour, you're like depressed. Do you feel that way too?
Yeah, that's the coolest feeling. The adrenaline that you get at the show. That's amazing. Playing at home, it's not the same. Only when you have to learn something very difficult, then I have kind of the same feeling. But it's not the same as being on stage.
And do you get like, after tours, do you get like kind of depressed or something where you're like, ugh?
Well, when at the end of a tour, I'm thinking, finally at home. And now I have time for myself. But you're going to miss playing shows because you're so used to playing every day a show and you miss having an audience in front of you and just being in front of of it, you miss it, of course, but you know that it's going to happen again. So
Sonia, of all
okay.
these shows that you've been out there playing now, like, was there a certain one that was like your favorite? Like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened, or anything like that?
Yeah, playing with Sepiroth at the Stonehenge Festival this year, between many of my favorite bands. Like, casually, they were my favorite bands headlining, and being part of it was a dream come true, and the whole day was just perfect, like just perfect. And I wish I could just do it again.
And you said
whole day.
you guys have some big festivals coming up this year too that you're going to be playing.
Mm-hmm.
With
yes.
one of your bands, or
with,
both
with
of
Burning,
with Burning
Witches.
So are you looking forward to that
um,
too? I mean, you got some. The season is just starting.
Definitely, there are coming so many great stuff. For this year, just like Summer Breeze, Rock Hard. There are many. We're also playing in different countries. What more?
Those big festivals like you were playing.
Oh yeah, we are playing at Sweden Rock, which is big as fuck, and we're playing with Kiss and such big bands that inspired me to play. I cannot believe it myself.
So there you're. Yeah. That is so cool. That look at you. I mean, you're 20 years old, and you're going to be up there basically sharing this stage with the band that got you into this in the first place. Yeah,
and we play the same day, which is even more unbelievable. So you never know if you see them backstage or something, I can say hello.
I was just gonna say that you'll probably pass them backstage, and hopefully you can speak.
And tell him thank you.
Thank you. That would be so cool. Oh man, make sure you carry your phone around everywhere you are when you're back there.
Yes, absolutely.
So, talking about guitar just a little bit more before we go, what is it that you really love about this instrument that draws you to it, that keeps you at it day after day, that your passion for this instrument, what is it about it?
It's everything about it, honestly. The thing I like the most is just playing. It's a very difficult question. I like everything about it. There's nothing that I don't like. It makes me. It's a therapeutic instrument. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yep.
If I play the guitar, it always makes me feel happy. There is even in the days that I don't feel happy, I pick the guitar and it can make me forget about anything, and that's what I really like about guitar. Making music and lose my own creativity into it. It's just a form of art, I think. Some people like to make drawings, and I like to make music with my guitar. That's it.
And just a few fun questions before we go. So, who is your personal favorite guitar player, Sonia?
Sonia McAlpine is my favorite guitar player. It's a shred guitar player.
And what's your favorite album of all time, of all your 20 years of life?
It's a very, very difficult question because I have too many albums that I love. But the album that I've been playing the most for the last year is Pierced from Within from Suffocation.
Oh, mm-hmm. Well, that's a classic, so that's a good one.
Yeah.
And Sonia, if people want to learn more about you and what you have going on, what websites can they go to?
Well, I have a Facebook page, Sonia Nusselder. And you can also find my Instagram with the same name, Sonia Anubis. YouTube, it's Sonia Anubis too. And I have a website, sonianubis.com. And I post the most in Instagram and on Facebook.
So everyone wanting to learn more about Sonia and what she's playing or has going on, you could visit her website. And Sonia, thank you so much for coming on the show to celebrate Guitar Month with us. And you are a talented and inspiring young woman, and we wish you all the best in your career out there.
Thank you so much. Really.